all my friends were geeks, if you want to call them geeks. All the people that nowadays are, presidents and CEOs, and all the cool kids I want to get in with are either, dead or some made it through. Some are policemen. I got my share. I had big lips, could never have long hair. This was in grade school, of course, when this all happened, 5th and 6th grade. Of course, 64, 65, I had long hair. Always tucked it in the back of my turtleneck. But I got, made fun of and called all those names, and I think that's probably one of the reasons I joined a band, was to set up in the lunchroom, Friday afternoon, and try to have little Susie that sat behind me in homeroom, check me out. I mean, who knows?
How bad did it get? Words, cruel words.
Yeah.
Made fun of.
And interestingly
Something
enough,
that you
Ray
couldn't
Tabano, who was in the band in the beginning, had this little leaflet out. Beware of Steve the Lithuanian Tallarico. Catch the dreaded Lithuanian disease. And as a kid, that's devastating. It got as bad as it got, but I was a loner, I wore cowboy boots to school, and I sewed buttons on the side of them, and I put a little loop on the inside of my dungarees that would sit over the button, so my pants would always go down, so I wouldn't get caught having cowboy boots, and tucked my hair in, and, I was a country boy. I brought my .22 to Yonkers and almost got arrested, and, it was just one of those things, I was an outcast, and I wanted to just be able to celebrate it.
What did you resort to when you were being made fun of? You even say in the book that you actually were what we call beat up. You worried about that the rest of the day because you had to get up the next morning and do it again.
What did I resort to? You mean that liquid that was in the bottle that my mom kept under the sink?
At what age did you
Probably,
start?
9th grade.
And we're talking hard liquor?
16, yeah.
Just
Yeah, I'd have a couple shots of Johnny Walker or whatever was under there before I went to school in the morning.
Just to try to have the guts to wait at the bus stop?
Not necessarily the guts. You got to know that, we talk about all the drugs in this band. The 60s was different. Well, it's hard to say it was different. It was more camaraderie, peace, love, baby. Vietnam War. Look what they did to the people of Kent State. The government did to us. Yeah. So let's smoke some pot and all get together. I mean, everybody was getting effed up, major league. Mm-hmm. And I just took it, as I do everything, to heart. Full tilt bozo. I mean, if you didn't do all the drugs that was in the room and be able to walk out, then you weren't cool. So I guess, yes, you could boil it all the way back to when I was drinking. Mm. Started with hard cider, the very, very first time. It was about 16, 17, 16. But yeah, it stemmed from, being an outcast and I was trapping. Like I said, I was a country boy.
Yeah. The irony that I get from this story is that, at least for your formative years, it seemed that you were dying to be somebody else, because being yourself didn't seem to be accepted. So you were dying to be somebody else. And the irony in that is that there are millions of people around the world who fantasize about what it must be like being you. Mm. And isn't that the odd thing about life?
Major full circle right there.
Had to beg, borrow, and steal to even get the chance to make that follow-up album, as is chronicled in the book, Walk This Way. And you'd think after all they'd been through, that some things would get easier with experience and success. But even writing the definitive story of Aerosmith had its landmines buried beneath the surface, because, as you see, that final chapter has yet to unfold.
No, that's the point. It's not over. I mean, we started as this band to try to write some songs, and started with a couple of ditties like Dream On and Moving Out and the very first album. And then, it seems today, although a lot less than before, that the world at large got caught up in the drugs, Aerosmith drugs, this and that, and Aerosmith clean as an arrow and back and sober and all that stuff. I mean, it was nonstop. and it was more. It is, if you look at it, about the music. You put the first album on, you put Toys in the Attics on, you put Rocks on, you put, Permanent Vacation on, Pump, Get a Grip. It just is nonstop, and no, it's not over. Because, if I was to say one thing, it's about survival. This book is about survival and how we did it and what we got out of it. For every bridge we burnt, we got another hit song. In doing this book with the guys, I can't tell you how many times I sat down and said, man, I'm writing a book. I'm sorry. Enough of this. I'm writing a book. Because there's many aspects of, I really don't want to get into it right now, but there's so many people came out of the woodwork to either try to trip us up or help us along.
I'm Redbeard, thanking Joe Perry, Tom Hamilton, and Steven Tyler of Aerosmith for celebrating 25 years since recording their first album in the studio. Thanks also to Jim Del Balzo and Ray Vaughan of Columbia Records. And pick up the definitive Aerosmith autobiography by Stephen Davis entitled